Hey everyone, welcome to the Beyond Extent podcast, a podcast dedicated to a chat between two environment artists discussing everything about the industry we work in. I'm Timothy, and I'm joined by William, who is a friend and fellow colleague of mine. In this episode, we were planning to talk about something completely different, but then jumped into the topic of horror games. We were discussing the differences between slow burns and jump scare kind of games. It's really fun to just talk about games and reflect back onto our earlier horror experiences and see how they evolved over time. So this is definitely more focused on the gamers inside of us and less on the educational side of things. But it's fun nonetheless, and I hope you feel the same way about it. So let's jump in. Hey everyone, welcome back to the next episode of the podcast. This is episode 14, I think? Oh, I need to get better at this, man. And as always, we have Will on the other side. How you doing, man?
Hello, I'm good. I'm actually not too tired this time around, which is nice. I was I was so tired yesterday, but I got some sleep and now I'm fresh. I'm fresh and ready for the pod.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. I've been enjoying my day off yesterday, and I have like 3 days off next week. I'm living life, man.
Nice. Yeah, I took a week off. I'll have like 9 days straight with the weekend. Uh, like 9 days off. It's gonna be so nice.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
gonna be my
Um.
birthday. I'm gonna play probably some Ghost of Tsushima, I think.
Oh, I was thinking about picking that one up. Like
Oh,
everyone
it
keeps
looks so
saying that it's
nice.
such a good game, but
Yeah, when I was a kid, like a tiny little guy, that's what a kid is. Just
yeah, just for people that
yeah,
don't know
just
how the world works.
um, I because I always wanted to make games and stuff like that, and I would make like pen and paper games for my friends to play. Um, that I would just make up. I watched Mulan, right? That Disney
Yeah.
movie with like the Mongols or the Huns or whatever it is, and I made like a game based on that, and I was like, oh, then I was thinking of like samurai stuff because I was always fascinated with that,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm really excited to see like a samurai game because I don't know, there are not that many samurai games out there, and usually they're like more like there's like what is it called, Shadow Warrior or something.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah,
that's got
yeah.
guns, right? That's got guns and stuff. And
I
I
don't
would
know,
like,
man.
yeah, I think so. And or yeah, maybe I'm thinking of the wrong game. But I just wanted to have
we're
like a
game devs and we know jack shit about games.
yeah, I just wanted to have like a cool samurai game. And I think there's some like supernatural stuff in there, uh, in Ghost of Tsushima, but I don't think it's like as much as it is in Sekiro. So
Mm,
I think it should be really cool. And yeah, from what I've heard, it seems to be really good as well.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I now that I think of it, I don't think I've ever played like a game like that. I think the closest I come is like Shinobi on like the PlayStation 1 or something.
Oh wow.
So yeah, it's been a while since I delved in those kind of worlds. I I've been hearing good stuff about the open world though. I've been hearing
Mm,
like lots of comments where people are saying that they're gonna have trouble going back to like the more stereotypical open world after this
damn.
one. So yeah, that's some high praise. So I'm curious. I need to pick it up, man.
Yeah, same.
Oh yeah. I always lag so far behind on games. Like I was about to click the buy button on Red Dead Redemption 2
Oh yeah?
because it was in sale on Steam, and I was like, Will keeps talking about it, so I maybe I should give it a try. And
Yeah,
then
that's good.
for some weird reason I didn't do it. So damn it,
Yeah.
I still need to do it.
I mean, yeah, I guess I'm kind of behind on games as well though, because I like when did Red Dead Redemption come out? I don't know. And I played it a little bit then, but I finished it like a couple months ago, and then now I was playing Counter-Strike again, which is like when did that come out? Like I think in 2012, Global Offensive
Yeah,
came out, and Escape from Tarkov has been out for 3 years as well. So I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
it's just, I mean, you don't have to play the newest games, right? As long as you're playing cool games, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I bought Risk of Rain too. I don't know if you know that game.
I heard
I
about it. think.
I bought that like when it was initially coming out in early access or whatever state it is in, and
Mhm.
I started playing that yesterday again. It was pretty fun for like a session or two.
Cool.
It's like just seeing like all the new stuff come in, and yeah, I've been having fun with that. But yeah, I need to switch it up and delve into like an open world and just
Mm.
because there's something that I do really like about open worlds, and I've not gotten bored of them. But it's just walking through like a different world basically.
Yeah. I mean,
It's like exploring that. It's so nice.
that's what I really liked about Red Dead as well. It's such a cool world. There's
Because in
definitely
most games,
something.
I don't give, I don't really care about the main storyline. I just want to see how that world is. I just want to be a part
Same.
of it.
Exact same, bro. It's the exact same for me. I don't care about story. I care about like a little bit about like lore and yeah, and world building. That's like my favorite thing in a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that tells everyone out there how much of an environment artist we are. It's like, nah, we don't care about the narrative. We just want to see the world building. Come on, man.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe you know that game, but I'm really excited for this game 13. I don't know if you played the original.
13.
They're doing a remaster of 13. I think it came out in 2001, and it's this cartoon style shooter that's because it's based on a comic book, and it's
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and
It's like a, is it like an orange cover? Like really orange cover? Like
yeah, yeah, like red and orange, and then it says 13 in like Roman letters on it. Yeah,
Yeah. I've
and
never
that
played that though.
oh man, I played it when I was like 12, and I was way too young, but it was like my favorite game ever, and because it's so yeah, it looks like a comic book, and they even did like really cool stuff, like when you headshot someone from far away,
Mm-hmm.
it opens up like three little panels, like comic book panels, where you see the guy like he would go like you would see like three pictures of him where the blood is coming out of his head, and it said like next to it, you know, like
Oh, it's like an actual comic
like
book.
in the actual comic book, yeah.
Oh,
And
that's
then
pretty sweet.
and if something important happened, like new enemies would spawn and they would open a door, you would like see that in like a little second view paneled screen thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so you would have like a split screen thing like you would have in a comic book. It's man, it was so cool. And they're completely remaking it.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to come out last year, but now it's I think in November this year is the new date.
Oh, okay.
And I saw some screenshots. They're changing up some stuff, which I mean, it's a 20-year-old game, so you know you got to change some stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But I really hope that like the core is the same because I just have so many fond memories of this game.
Mm-hmm.
It's I,
Oh, that
there's like
sounds good, man.
you
I need
could pick
to.
up stuff in the environment and do stuff with it. Like what? I mean, actually, some of it is still not really that common in games. Like you could just pick up a chair and hit someone over the head with
Oh,
it.
you mean back then?
Yeah,
Yeah, back then that must have been such a unique thing.
yeah, and think about it. Still now, I don't know a lot of games where you can pick up like a chair and hit somebody
Yeah,
over the head with it. I mean, Hitman, I guess you can pick all sorts of stuff up there. But
yeah.
yeah, it was like, and you could take like a hostage as like a human shield. It's crazy. Like the features and whatever were so crazy, and I think the story it was weirdly close to the Bourne movies for some reason. It was literally
Hmm.
the Bourne movies with a little bit of JFK assassination in there. Like that's what it is. Like you literally like you wake up after on a beach after jumping off of a boat, and then the first place you go is a bank. So it literally
Yeah.
feels like the Bourne Identity, or the Bourne whatever, whichever one that one is, where he goes to the bank in Switzerland. So it, it's like exactly that, but then it escalates and there's like people in fucking KKK gowns
Oh,
and
Jesus.
there's like a lot of facial reconstruction surgery to look like someone else and take their identity. It's crazy, bro. It's really cool. Um,
Oh, is this still 13? Is this still the game?
13, yeah, XIII, I
Oh,
guess.
jeez.
If you yeah,
Okay.
there's
Well,
a lot of cool
I need to
stuff
look it
going
up.
on there.
Yeah, I was talking to some people on Twitter, um, and I was talking to the specific person that's currently working on Dying Light 2,
Mm.
and it just made me realize. like, oh yeah, that's the game that I've been excited for like a really long time. But it
Right.
just there's not that much marketing hype building up surrounding that game, so I kind of just forgot about it. But it just made me realize, like, yeah, that is a game that could really change things up when it comes to like open worlds.
Oh man, Dying Light 1 is such a good game.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't finished it, but I played it quite recently, and it's the way that it plays with your emotions, especially at night. We were talking about this a
Mm,
couple of days ago as well with some other people.
so
It's just like
scary.
how, yeah, exactly. Like if it turns into night, it's like, oh no, you're proper scared.
It's so scary, man. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
god, it's so scary. And then you're like fucking climbing over the buildings because you hear like what are they called? Volatiles, the bad guys, the really big bad ones that don't care if you shine a light on them or whatever it is.
Oh, I
Like
don't even think I encountered those.
yeah, those are like really bad big ass zombies, and they're so scary because they're really quick. And then I
All
had
right,
like
but
these.
what is
Yeah,
it with us talking about scary games? We should really do like a Halloween episode.
I'm telling you, no, I never. I'll never let anyone see my scared face. But man, I am really not good at scary games. I remember a friend of mine was showing me some, like one of these indie horror games,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so weird. I was like walking through a dark hallway, and then suddenly just a fucking face like comes out of nowhere right in front of your screen, and I think I just
Oh, damn it. What's that game? I know the game you're talking about.
it's like a
And
Source
it's
Engine thing.
yeah, yeah, like you're like a crime investigator.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this is gonna pain me.
But yeah, so I think I literally like threw my fucking headphones. Man, I'm so jumpy. I get scared so easily in that type of thing.
But that's a good sign of immersion, right?
I mean, I guess it is, but then the second you throw your headphones, I guess you're kind of ruining the immersion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's the thing about the Metro Exodus that we keep talking about, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
that it's so immersive that I just like I can't do it. It's so scary because they're fucking the field of view is so narrow.
Narrow, yeah.
Yeah, that you can't like look behind you. Oh, so
I
scary.
think I think the first time when I got properly immersed in like a horror game was Dead Space. Have you ever played those games? I mean, the first one.
I think I might have played the first one a bit,
Yeah.
or the second one.
That
I don't
was
know.
I had a friend of mine back in Belgium, and he got it when that game came out and he started playing it, but he stopped playing it because he couldn't handle it. So he came over to my place and he was like, "Look, I want to see what happens in this game, but I can't play it myself. So can you play it and can I just watch?"
Yeah, that sounds like
so
me.
so we were just like, "Yeah, sure." And I think I played it in like one really long stretch, like over like one single night, and we
Hmm.
just didn't stop playing it.
Damn.
But man, that really played on your emotions
Right.
because like I still remember this one scene really vividly when I was standing in front of the elevator and like the elevator was coming up slowly, like the horror trope that it is.
Yeah, of course.
But like your own shadow was being projected on the door in
Mm,
front of you, and like the
mm,
light was blinking behind you. But then there was this one moment where you could hear all the creatures behind you just like scuffling about, but there was nothing happening.
oh,
So it's like it's building up that tension, and then I rotated back to the door and be like, "Come on, stupid elevator, come on up!"
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then it flashes your shadow twice, and then the third shadow is like a creature shadow.
Oh, come on. I mean,
Oh
that's so
my
mean. That's
god,
so mean.
that scared the hell out of me.
I
I think
remember.
I even threw the remote to my sister that came in.
I remember back in the day. I don't know how old we were, like 15 or something. And I was with a friend, and we were playing Metro, the first one, 2030, the 2033,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
2033. Um, And interestingly, it also involved an elevator because there was like an elevator shaft with a broken elevator in it, and you could like jump inside it from the top, from like the
Uh
top
huh.
bit. And we're inside, and we didn't really know where to go. And I think my friend was like, "Hey, I don't want to jump down there because it's dark. Can you take over? So I did, and I jumped in the elevator, and there was like not really anything there. And then I was walking around the elevator trying to find a way out because we're like, where do we need to go next?
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly there's a huge shadow on the wall and some sounds around me. And I don't know if you've played Metro a bit, but like one
Oh
of the
yeah, yeah. That
features,
that
yeah,
that game was great, man.
yeah. But like one of the things is that you don't have a lot of ammo, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's because that's also your currency. So that shadow came on and that sound, and what I did is I
Like
just
empty the clip, man.
I unloaded a full clip into the wall, and both of us were screaming. And you know what had happened? I had been walking around the room to try and find the exit, and I had tipped over a gas lamp, and it fell to
Oh,
the ground, and it made a shadow. And that's what scared the both of us to shit. It was, oh man, we were so scared. It was so stupid.
those
But
moments are great though. Like,
yeah,
have you played the original Fear?
no.
Yeah, there was some pretty scary moments in that too.
Oh yeah.
Where it's all about like the paranormal happening around you, and then you see like these visions of like the little kid in the red dress. But you would have these stereotypical horror moments, like especially in games where you see that you need to go down a ladder. So you walk up to the ladder, and the character does this animation where it rotates around, and like the kid is right there in front of you.
Oh fuck you. Oh no. Why? Why? I don't. I really don't. Like that's the thing. I don't play horror games usually. I play games that are like sometimes people make me, but
Mm-hmm.
stuff like Metro. That's not a horror game at all. Actually, it's just a shooter with like some spooky elements. But
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
enough for me. You know. I don't understand why you would ever play. I mean, but that's just because you know the people are different. But I mean,
It's
I
because you're a
understand.
scaredy cat.
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I understand that that's the thing, but for me personally, there's no reason why I would ever play a horror game.
Yeah, yeah.
It was just, it would make me so anxious. It would make me so scared. It would be horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And then same with movies. I don't like horror movies. I like movies that are a little bit scary,
Yeah.
but it's like, yeah, I watched this Korean movie that was pretty scary, but
Oh god.
but it wasn't a horror movie. You know, it was like a, I don't know, like a thriller, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
It's pretty fucking brutal. It's called I Saw the Devil. I don't know if
Is it
you've
pretty
heard of
old?
it. It's
I
pretty
think I
old,
saw
yeah.
that one. Like it
Oh
rings
yeah,
a bell.
yeah. It's about the serial killer guy.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
can't remember, man. Like this is one thing. Like my memory of all that stuff is so shoddy that I can barely remember games. Like I'm not
Right.
I cannot remember movies.
Fair enough.
But yeah, man. I think coming back to where you say that Metro uh is the sort of game that you play. I think those games do it way better because it's not focused on that thing, right?
Yes, because a lot of what the horror game is to me is I know I'm gonna be scared. I know there's gonna be a jump scare, so it makes me scared. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But then in a horror in something like Metro, there's no like spooky music. There's no they're not it's yeah, exactly. It's not made for that, but it's still through because you're so immersed, it creates that atmosphere in which you're like scared, I guess.
Yeah.
Or for me
It's just
it's
like yeah, the horror is just like a or like the scare factor is just a part of the world.
yeah,
Like
it's a
it's not
side
its
effect.
own thing.
Yeah. That's true. I think
Yeah.
that's way more interesting because a lot of the time horror games won't have that much that many like mechanics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Metro is still just a good shooter and a good game, and then you have that little horror on the side, or Dying Light, the same thing. It's really not
Yeah,
a
yeah,
horror
yeah.
game, but it has these elements.
Yeah, that's where you get a really nice contrast in emotions in Metro, especially the first one, where you're walking through these cities that are built in the Metro, and
Yeah,
then there's like there's no like cutscene of you going out to the city. Like it's you have to actually go there.
yeah.
And I think they do that deliberately so that you can feel like warm and cozy inside of the metro. And then once like the door opens, that's where you go into like the danger, and that's where all the bad stuff happens. And it's
Oh,
such an effective thing in that game, especially the first one, where you're walking up with your buddy to the door, and like the door opens, like security guards close them after you, and then it's like look, you had your nice cozy meal in the town,
Yeah,
but now it's time to get to the next metro or like a destination where you want to go.
yeah. Now you're on your own.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I also remember being so like getting jumpy every time because I'm in the fucking tunnel or I'm on the outside or whatever. It's dark. There's like these fucking I don't know what they're called. These weird dogs that attack you around and they're howling all over the place.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then in the middle of that, your guy is just like, and he fucking changes his air filter for his gas mask, and it's so
Oh yeah.
loud, and it happens just like so suddenly, and it's
But that's a really good sign of tension though, because you're just
yeah,
like gripping at the seat, and then it's just like I was
yeah.
like, oh no.
Oh man, what a
I still
game!
I still remember this section where there's like ghosts in the tunnels, and they're portrayed as shadows,
Mm,
and I thought
the
that
dark
was just
ones.
yeah, I thought that was such like a really clever thing to be doing. It's not like, oh, the stereotypical like ethereal ghost just flowing in front of you, but it's like just
Woo!
yeah, just like a plastic bag looking thing. But it's just like, yeah, it was so effective just casting that shadow. That was, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. You have to use what you have in a good way, right? That's the whole thing. And I think especially in horror, because it can be broken so easily, something can become like if something doesn't work correctly in a horror game, it'll be funny instead of scary, and that's like the opposite of what you want.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because to come back to like the jump scares, that is always been like a big factor in horror games. But that's the stuff that just makes me cringe. I'm just like,
It's so
oh,
cheap, yeah.
yeah. And I think we went through like a period where that was a really big thing, especially with probably the most famously known thing about Slenderman and like the eight
Yeah.
pages. Like the first time that I played that game, I was super scared. And then
And then you realize what's happening and you're like, "Oh,
yeah, there's like this yeah, because it's just this one mechanic like you mentioned before. It's just like doing the same thing over and over. And
yeah.
then after a while it's just like, "Oh, I lost again. Let's try again."
Yeah.
But hey, I'm not going to say that I wasn't scared the first couple of times, man. And especially because that game doesn't look great.
No.
Like it's just super bare minimal like graphics, and it just does a really clever job of scaring you,
Hmm.
but it's not tension building.
No, it's just yeah, yeah. It's literally just jump scares, isn't it? But then
Hmm.
because you know what jump scare is gonna come, that's what creates the tension, and not the actual atmosphere or something.
Oh yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, you're basically like waiting for the next thing to happen.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the kind of horror I like or I can tolerate, is the horror that's created by a game that's not trying to do it too hard, but it's just happening organically.
Hmm.
Because even Tarkov can be pretty scary sometimes when you're like locked in a room and you just hear footsteps around, and then there's a fucking guy who knows, like, sometimes people speak to you because there's like some voice lines that you could do. And I was in like a completely dark factory one time at night, and there was just a guy like saying, "We have a rat, kill him." And they're just like, "Oh god, I think he knows I'm here."
But he's just trying to taunt you out of your
I,
place, right? To
I, I
make like a
get
bad mistake.
I guess, yeah. And that's like just something that happens completely organically, right? Because it's another player. But
Hmm.
it can be like really scary, or not, maybe not scary, but it's just like super suspenseful, I'd rather say.
Yeah.
And
There's like a lot of tension in those situations.
yeah, and I much prefer that to just like a, I don't know, like a, what was that? What was that thing? PE? No, PT?
Oh, oh man, I haven't played it myself, but just watching the playthrough of it. Like there's some things that only certain people cut up on, like when she's on the balcony of the first floor, and
No?
just looking down at you is man, so scary.
It's so scary, man. It's so scary. But that's the thing. It's not doing anything else except being scary, right?
Yeah. And there's also like a fine balance between all those elements, right? Because if you see like the baby kind of looking thing lying in the
Mm,
sink, that's where it's like, that doesn't it doesn't really do anything for me. Like
yeah,
it doesn't really add it's it's
it's
where you
just
mentioned
gross,
where
kind of.
yeah, it's where you mentioned that some kind of things can be tacky and then just take you out of the experience.
Totally.
I think yeah, that was one of those things. But like the rest of it, it's just like how it psychologically plays on just like the same corridor over and over again.
Yeah,
And just the random outcomes that you can have in that game. Because there's so many possibilities, so many like little things like, oh, you have to touch the telephone at this point and then walk back and then you see something different over there. And
right.
yeah, that was such a cool game though. Even if I
Um,
didn't play it.
yeah. Do you know Junji Ito?
No.
So he's I guess what's the one that's moving? Anime, right? That's the animated one. That makes sense. So
What's the one that's moving?
I always forget which one's manga and which one's anime. But anime is the animation, I guess. Makes sense because of
Uh-huh.
the name. Yeah. So he's a manga artist and he
Mm-hmm.
does horror. And I'm not really, as you might be able to tell because I don't know which one is which, I'm not really a manga or anime guy,
Yeah,
but
I think we're barking up the wrong tree because neither am I.
yeah, but he's like a horror guy. He made horror manga, and for some
Mm-hmm.
reason I like those. I don't know why. I don't like manga and I don't like horror, but but for some reason those were really cool because they
Yeah,
were
yeah, yeah.
so. Oh my god, they're so scary sometimes, or like they're just gross, but it makes it scary in a way. It's like a lot of body horror, and
Yeah.
apparently that's what I've been hearing is that he's making a horror game together with Kojima. I
Hmm.
think. I think Kojima.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. It seems like Junji Ito is involved in something, but yeah, it's man. He has this one story. It's like a huge long story about. And you know what the big scary thing is in the world? It's a spiral. That's what it is. It's not like some monster or anything. It's the shape of a spiral. Because there's
Mm-hmm.
this guy who goes crazy, and he starts collecting spirals, and like everything that has a spiral on it, he has it in his house, and then he
Yeah.
starts wanting to make spirals. He's like I think he does pottery, and then he starts making like bowls in the form of a spiral, and then he starts to want to become a spiral, and he rolls up his tongue, and he's like, oh, look at this, I'm becoming more like the spiral. And then he fucking, I don't know what he starts doing. It's crazy. And then, like, spoilers, in the end,
Uh-oh.
he like,
Spoiler alert.
spoiler alert, he shoves himself into like a barrel to become he like breaks his own spine and stuff to become this spiral shape.
Oh
and
god.
it's and it's got this. That's what he does. Junji Ito does is like the page turn. So you often see like on the first page, or like, well, on the page before the big reveal, you can see the reaction of the characters, and then you turn the page and it's just this huge picture of something really like
Gruesome
crazy,
or
gross, and
yeah, yeah.
gruesome. Yeah, and it's done so well, and it's, ugh, man, that's some scary stories, man. Or like
There are
just,
some really good stories online about that too. Where it's like they go into like, oh, there's a small town and they don't come out at night because they hear, oh god damn it, this is so long ago. This is when I was like 16 or something. And I was like, it's like one picture beneath the other one. So you like scroll down through the web page, but then they're all just
oh,
pictures. But then the last picture is animated, and I wasn't expecting it.
oh, ooh,
Oh, and it's with sound too.
oh,
And
come
man,
on.
I still get goosebumps now. But it's a super famous one, but I can't remember the name of it.
That already
And it's
sounds
and it's
scary.
just it's just like a girl with all her bones broken, and like the last picture. Well, again, spoiler alert. It's she looks back at you, but it's like animated in
Oh,
the
fuck
picture.
off.
Oh my god, and that
Oh,
scared the hell out of
come
me.
on. That is so
But it's
spooky.
that's the thing. Like they're way better in doing that sort of horror than like the Western cultures are.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, it was like a Japanese thing, or
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
interesting.
I'm not really sure if it was Japanese or Chinese or any other Asian culture, but it seems like just in general they seem to be way better with the pacing of their horrors than the Western side is.
Yeah,
Because
I
like
mean, I guess, yeah.
in the Western in the Western well, obviously generalizing here, but like
Oh yeah,
they uh they kind of lean on just the jump scares aspect way more.
true. A lot of the time, yeah.
Whereas if you look at games and movies, um, they they do such a good job of building up that tension and just making you afraid of like the end result, that even if the end result is not as horrifying as you would expect, like the impact of it is
Yeah.
still so big.
Yeah, and especially with Junji Ito, sometimes it like leaves you with that lingering feeling. Like there's a story about a guy that lived inside a chair. Uh,
It's inside a chair, okay.
inside a chair, and he was like I don't remember exactly. I think at the end, I guess he murdered someone through the chair, or he was just like a peeping tom kind of guy. But then you start thinking about the chair that you're sitting in, and like, could a person fit in this? You know,
Mm-hmm.
like there's like
The
this
fuck?
chair Junji Ito. I'll see if I can find that picture, and I'll show it to you just so. Oh yeah, that just
Oh
that
no.
fucking picture. It's not actually a scary picture, but it has like this weird, spooky atmosphere.
That's just
That
like an eerie vibe to it.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, we need to put this up to. Oh man.
Right? It's just like this. It's because that's what they see when they find that this guy was living in there. You
Yeah.
know, and it's just the way that it's drawn with like the outline of the guy's face, like the dents in the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then oh yeah, look, there's a dead body next to it, so I guess he murdered someone through the chair.
Well, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. And I just and
We
then and
need
then you start.
we need to put this up on YouTube too.
Yeah, we should. I don't know if we can. I guess we can, right? Because that's fair use. We're just talking about it.
Yeah.
Commentary. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's oof.
it's
It
it's
makes
so
you
scary,
think.
man.
Yeah, it makes you think about like your life and is
Oh, the thing, like coming back to games,
right.
the thing that I always wonder is games these days, they look so good.
Yeah.
I wonder if the old school games with worse graphics have a bigger impact on our psyche, because our brains basically have to make up what's in between the pixels, so to say.
Yeah, right. I guess that's why a scary book can be scarier than a scary movie, right? Because
Mhm.
you make up everything in your own mind.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about the imagination. And I think that's also why a lot of indie horror games these days, they they play with that factor, and they're mostly set in like really low pixelated art styles.
Hmm.
Just because they want to play on that aspect of your imagination basically. There's some great horror games out there. There's this one indie creator that I need to look up. It's like Kitty Horror Games, I think. I'm not too sure. I need to fact check that. But she makes games about there's this one about a house, and
I don't know
what you
why, but that's
basically
already scary to me.
but it's basically the game loop is simple. You're just looking for recordings, I think, in this really dark house.
Okay.
But like nothing's really well, I'm gonna add a spoiler alert here for if you want to play it. And
A
we'll
lot
need
of
to
spoilers today.
yeah, I know, man. We need to link it in the description for people that wanna support and play that game. But I was watching it, and it's just like you find a recording, you go to sleep, and then uh in the recordings it's like, oh, but how do you really know that you're safe in your house? Like if you go to sleep, you're the most vulnerable, and why
Oh
do
my
we
god.
put so much trust in this house? Like it could just open a door to you and just let anyone in at night basically.
I was telling you before this podcast how I didn't have a lot of sleep the night before tonight, and I was just getting more sleep. So now, why do you want me to not sleep tonight? I don't understand.
Okay, okay, in
Man, that's so scary. Just
I know,
telling me
man.
about it is
I
so
know.
scary,
But
man.
but that's the thing. Like nothing happens in that game. Absolutely nothing.
Uh,
But it's just psychologically it's playing on you.
all right, I'm gonna look behind me. Okay, there's no one there. This is great. Cool.
Yeah. So we're not doing this at night. So just so people know, like it's super bright outside. So
I've got my
we'll
curtains.
still.
I've got my curtains closed though. It's not that light in here, you know.
Well, you still got a couple of hours to recover because before you
Right.
need to go to sleep again.
True. Oh man, that is. Yeah. I know what you. Have you played? What's that game? Outcast?
Oh yeah.
No, is it
Uh,
Outcast? Is it Outlast or is it
Outlast,
Outcast?
yeah, that's the
Outlast.
one.
Ooh, like I mean, every game where you start in going like into like an abandoned asylum is already fucked in my mind.
Yep.
But dude, that game with the night vision thing, oh come on, oh
Yeah, there's something to that, right? Just
it's so
watching through like the
scary.
night vision scope.
It's so scary. It's so scary. I'm such a pussy, man. It's so
Have
scary.
Have you seen the second one?
I think I played it at a friend's house because he made me do it because I have horrible friends.
Yeah, I was just about to say you have some good friends over there.
Right? But they know that I can't do it, and that's why they want me to do it, I guess. And I played it for a little bit, and then you're like, you have to hide in a locker or something. And then this fucking huge, weird, crazy guy comes looking for
Yeah,
you, and
yeah.
it's so scary, man. It's so scary.
The thing, again, the thing that really makes that game stand out to me is like the subtleties and things when you're going through. I don't know, I haven't played it myself, but I watch playthroughs. It's like the beginning, you have to go through like a little town section, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch the edges of the town, if you watch them with your night vision, you can see people standing there. And as you zoom
Oh,
in, like they retreat inside of the brush.
oh, that's so scary.
Yeah, but it's like how many people see that?
Yeah.
But
Oh,
it's like once you see it, it's like oh my god. It's like you can't unsee it because then you start looking around at like all the edges of the town and like they're everywhere.
yeah. Oh man, that's so scary.
Hey, you're welcome, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Hey, I think if we wanna do it for your sanity, we should jump into like a Patreon question
Right.
to
By the
really
way,
switch it up.
yeah, by the way, I just wanted to tell this to the viewers. None of this was planned. We kind of just started talking about horror games, but it was really fun. I liked it.
Yeah, we had something completely different planned, but
Yes. But it kind of worked out. I mean,
yeah, so
that's sometimes you know you don't want to talk about game dev. You want to talk about games. I think that's fair. I think people like it. Let's hope
oh
so.
yeah, for sure.
They want to
I
hear
don't think we
about
need.
what children we are, or at least I am.
Nah, that's basically what this podcast comes down to, like how big of a man child we both are.
Fair.
Okay, so let's dive into the Patreon question.
Yes, please.
Let's have a look. It's a pretty long one. It's from Ben Black from the Patreon community. So something I've been thinking about might be a good subject for you all is it dance what we all do with the workflow. Meaning we model, sculpt, UV, bake, texture. This process looks quite linear, but in reality we model on to sculpt and run into a problem, so we have to go back and fix the model.
Hmm.
It's a constant back and forth, trying to get everything just right visually. So yeah, what do you think about this, man?
That was kind of a statement, wasn't it? So I guess the question is, do we also do that,
Yeah,
or is it just him?
I mean, yeah, it would just be good to shine a light on the process, and
Right.
in discussing about it, we could dive into that stuff where,
Yeah.
yeah, we struggle with that stuff too.
So yeah, I mean, from what I heard about like what Ben asked, samesies, man, it's exactly the same for me. I think that's just a natural part of the process is that you go, you sculpt, and then you realize, oh man, this doesn't fit with this part, or this doesn't look right. I'm going to start over. And especially in the bake stage, sometimes you can have like some really weird things, even though you feel like you've done everything right. There's like this one tiny thing that you either overlooked or maybe because you're using a different workflow is a little bit different. And I remember working on my Winchester, my gun, and I think I baked that thing like 7 times because I wanted it to be perfect, right? And then
Hmm.
and then you look for baking errors and you find like one, you fix it, and then you go to substance and you start texturing, and you're like, oh, there's another thing that is only visible if you cock back the receiver and you like to reload, but then you can see that there's a little bit of a weird thing going on there, so you have
Hmm.
to you have to go back and fix that. It's that's just what it is. It's completely natural, I would say. Of course, you'll get better at it because you'll have done one step of the way 1,000 times over, so you were more confident in what to do and how to avoid it in the future. But it's
Hmm.
still gonna happen.
Yeah, man, I totally agree. I think there's like a couple of ways that I see this. Is one for sure, like with all you said, like that's totally right. Like I have to go back and forth so many times when I'm building an environment
Mm.
because there's so many different moving pieces and you're not going to get them right on the first time, especially for me if you're building a modular piece.
Mm-hmm.
You're constantly trying to snap it to all the other pieces. So I start with like a really rough block out, just some basic shapes that sort of align with the metrics that I want to have. So say for like a simple wall piece, this could be like 3 to 4 meters high, and then depending on the section you're creating, 1 to 4 meters in width.
Right.
But then there's like the thickness of the wall too. Like how thick do you want them to be? Do you want like the space on both sides to be usable? Then you can't really make them too thick because then you're losing space. And there's like a ton of back and forth between that. And
Right.
then especially when then the texture pass comes in, and currently I'm doing like a mid poly workflow with like decals added onto it. And yeah, it's just the amount of decals, like going back and forth between those, like how big the decals need to be so that they stay with like texture density and don't break like break the texture density basically.
Mm.
Um, but I also think that this is on one side, it's you're getting better and better at it, but also I think in personal work, you should be exploring stuff all the time.
True.
Like if you're just doing stuff over and over and there's no artistic input at any point and you're just doing stuff, then I don't know, it kind of loses that magic a little bit because then you're just like a machine churning out stuff,
Right.
which some people do and they do it in a really magical fashion. But if you're not learning anything, that's where I get my um how would you say it? Like that's where I get my kicks out of it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I want to explore new things. I want to see and fail in doing stuff and then try a different route.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I
Uh,
think that makes sense.
yeah, and like another thing, it's a good statement to bring up because I think it's part of a bigger issue that we currently have, and it's not only in game dev. It's all over the internet with just Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and it's how you perceive people and how they do their work. Because people just show off their portfolio pieces on ArtStation and it's all nice and clean. And you assume that they just did it like, oh, they started with this and then the end result is this. And
Oh, right.
there's like no deviation or variation in between.
No struggle.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what social media and like ArtStation and all those sites do. Because people just want to show off their best side because that's where they're gonna get the jobs. Like the company's not gonna hire you if they see you struggling all the time,
Of
even
course.
if you do that in the company itself, because that's like another reality, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not from 0 to 1 in like a linear fashion, like Ben said. It's even in a studio fashion. If you're trying to innovate, if you're trying to push new stuff, and you're learning new stuff, you're gonna fail along the way too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where the dance of the workflow comes in, and yeah, uh, I think we need to get better at showing all the mistakes in between and just
Oh,
being a little bit more open about it. Go ahead.
yeah. I did those 2 days at my old university where I taught a class, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember doing a demo on modularity, and because I hadn't really done that in a long time, I made I don't remember what it was, but there was like one thing that I fucked up, and then the modularity wasn't working,
Mm-hmm.
and then I realized it, and I just fixed it in like a couple minutes. But they told me like they were so happy to see that you can fail and then you can just get over it, you know? Because for some reason that wasn't like in their minds as much. They were like, oh, you keep failing, and then that means that you're bad or whatever, and then
Yeah.
like it's not like you have to do it all over again. No, you can just, sometimes it's an easy fix, but you just have to know where it is. And definitely people that like, I don't know what you would call it, like people that do it all the time and that are professionals in it, they're still gonna fuck up. They're still gonna make
Yep.
errors.
I mean, there are moments when I have massive brain farts and just
Oh yeah.
I'm looking for something for like an hour, and it's just like, man, this should be so simple. And then I go to sleep, I wake up the next day, and it's like, oh, it was this button.
Yep.
It was so stupid.
Sometimes it's still textile entity. Sometimes still gets me. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's so easy, but then sometimes, because then someone will say something that'll confuse me, because you know what I mean. Like sometimes it's like, oh well, so textile entity is like this, and then if you need the texture like this, then you do it like this. Or what was it the other day? A non-square texture. I didn't know
Oh yeah, yeah.
which way I wanted it to go. I was like, I'm putting this horizontally, so I would need it to be 512 by 1K. Wait, or do I need to be 1K by 512? And then like you said, you go and get a water, and you come back to your desk, and you're like, oh, obviously it needs to be this way around.
Mm-hmm.
But it's sometimes, yeah, you can be hung up on like such a stupid little thing, or yeah, there's like, you forgot to like, I don't know, split one UV shell, and then you have a weird baking error, and it's just like such a basic thing that you know how to do, but
Yeah,
then
yeah.
sometimes there'll still be like a little thing. And especially, I don't think it happens to me at work that much, because you take more time, I would say, and you're more thorough. But
Mm-hmm.
especially at home, where sometimes I just want to get like a prop done in one day, because you don't have to worry about a Jira, you don't have to worry about anything like that, you don't have to get feedback from a lead, you can just pump it out real quick. So I want to do that,
Yeah.
but then sometimes something like this happens where you just, I don't know, you forget something, and then you have like a weird baking error,
Mm-hmm.
and it's,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think sometimes people just like you mentioned before, like they get too hung up in the failure of things.
Yeah.
Like failure is how you grow. You just need to learn to accept it and be like, look, no one watched me do this. Like the only person that's mad is myself, and it's just
Right.
costing you time. Because
Yeah,
like
go ahead,
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Not again. No, I was just gonna say, yeah, you have to realize how, um, like when you have something, like if you had a mistake or whatever it is, and you need to fix it, just like think about those steps in your mind. Like, okay, usually I do this, and it works. So what did I do differently this time? And then you can like narrow it down, and it can be so easy to fix those problems. You don't have to like go through three different softwares and check everything. You can just like, if you're confident in what you're doing and in the workflow, first of all, probably you'll have less of those mistakes, but then also you'll be so confident in fixing them, but only because you fixed them before. So that's the
Hmm.
thing. I mean, it's the most cliche thing out of the book, right? Is you learn from your mistakes, and that's what it is. You do.
Yep. Yep. Do you have a standardized workflow for your personal work?
Um, I mean, yeah, I would say so. It's kind of developed into block out in Max. I mean, sometimes I do something fully in Max, but like block out in Max, take it into ZBrush, do the low poly in Max, export straight from ZBrush with my poly paint for ID maps and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then plop it into Marmoset, bake, get the textures into Substance, text like the bake texture the substance, and then give it to Unreal and plop in my master materials and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then
Oh, so you
sometimes,
have like master material set up and all that stuff as well.
I mean, if I'm working on my scene, for example, yeah, I'll have the master materials set up.
Yeah. Is
Um,
that a master material that you take from scene to scene, or you recreate it on every project?
I don't recreate it, but I so for example, I had let's say a vertex paint material that I made, and I had a parallax occlusion material that I made, and I had one, and I would say I have like a base with like with like all the parameters like normal intensity, roughness variation, roughness adjustments,
Mm-hmm.
and just like having blending and stuff like that. And now I combined it into like my master material for my current scene, which is probably the most complex one I've had, and it's just so nice. It's got vertex paint, it's got blending with no, yeah, it's got blending because it is vertex paint, is what I'm saying. So it's got
Mm-hmm.
vertex paint it blends with another texture. It can also blend with dirt that isn't using a texture. It's just a flat color and flat roughness. So you're using less maps. And then the third, another vertex color is a tint that I do, and you can like have a mask that masks out the tint and the dirt stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like your roughness and metallic, and ambient occlusion in one mask, and then you have another mask that has like blending and dirt and stuff like that in that. And then I have parallax occlusion as a thing, and I have like normal intensity, roughness variation, emissive if you need it, and like some other stuff that you can plop in there. And this, it's just like everything you could ever need for for environments.
Because the reason why I asked this is because I don't really have standardized workflow yet. Because I don't know, in my personal work, I just like experimenting, and I'm only getting to a point now where I'm thinking about reusing my materials that I create now in the next scene.
Right.
Because before, I would just build master materials like specifically for that scene, and I wouldn't think about them because I was just gonna leave them
Right.
in that scene anyway.
So
As an example.
I would say I have a standardized workflow inside one personal project, but then if I move on to a next one, I'll have a different one.
Yeah.
But still, there's going to be something. So, for example, I always set up my folder structure the same way. Like that stays the same. Or I'll probably, like I said, I'll probably reuse some of the master materials. But like, if there's something like right now on the stylized scene, what I was doing is I had these smart materials that I had set up, and I just need to plop them in, change the roughness and the color, and maybe add a little bit of like unique things to it, and then I'm done texturing. So like that's just because I know I really need to speed up my workflow so I can get it done. So that's part of that workflow. But then on another project, I might do it completely different and maybe not even go to ZBrush and just do everything in Max because I know it's going to be an RTS. It's going to be far away, so I don't need that detail.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is... oh, sorry about that. Like, I think a lot of people struggle with this fact as well because, like, in personal work, I think a lot of people just think about like, okay, I need to build a workflow, I need to do this, and I need to get better at doing stuff. And you're gonna get better at doing stuff anyway. Like you're gonna get quicker at texturing, gonna get quicker at modeling, you're gonna get quicker at this and that.
Definitely.
But yeah, I think this is something that I personally struggle with for like a long time. I was watching everyone create these beautiful environments, and I was like, oh my god, I'm not creating an environment in the same time frame that they have.
Yeah.
And like there must be something wrong. And I think that's because I didn't have that standardized workflow of working, and I switched programs in while I was working too. And I always felt kind of bad about that.
Right.
But now I'm slowly realizing that I shouldn't. Like, who cares what you do in your personal work? Like, it's personal. Like, it's obviously it's obviously different if you're trying to get into the industry. Then you're trying to minimize the amount of project that you can do in a certain amount of time.
Right.
But after that, you're an artist. Like, go and explore options. Do something new. Like, try new technical approaches. Like,
yeah. And that's the thing, because I realize how ironic it is that I just said I have a standardized workflow where I go from this to this to this, and then the question was about having that and going back and forth. I still do that, obviously, because I'll have
Mm-hmm.
something that doesn't work or that I want to improve, or sometimes I'll have something in the engine and I'll say this needs more polys. This isn't looking the way I want it to.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll go back in. Or sometimes I actually, on this project especially, because it's stylized, I'll have an extra step at the end where after everything's done and baked, I'll add some edges to my mesh when it's ready for exporting to the engine to like add a little bit of silhouette to it,
Oh,
because I
yeah, yeah,
don't
yeah.
really want
Push
any
the
straight
silhouette a little
lines.
bit, yeah.
Yeah. So stuff like that, and but then I try to have it standardized as much as possible to be efficient. But then at the same time, like you said, there'll be things where I'll switch it up and be like, oh, for this one, I mean, sometimes you just need a different software like Marvelous Designer to get in there at some point,
Mm-hmm.
because you want to do some cloth simulation, or you just need you just want to try something else. Like you said, you want to experiment, and I think that's really important that you give yourself the freedom to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I totally agree. Because in the end, we're just artists, and
Yeah,
exploring new stuff is what makes an art style and makes it truly yours.
I think so. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, we deviated a little bit, but I feel like this was an important discussion because just the workflow in general. I think people get confused that if they look at professionals and their portfolios, it's just like, oh my god, like this environment is just like from A to B with minimal bumps and it's just churning it out. But it's like, no, it's not true.
Uh,
Like
it's a
it changes so
zigzag.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think people get intimidated really easily by stuff like that, but it's everyone's struggling usually. I mean, of course, there's gonna be some god out there that can just plop out environment after environment super easily, but
They're
that's
struggling with something else.
there.
They're,
Yeah,
they might be struggling with not feeling too great artistically because they're just churning out stuff again.
yeah, maybe exactly. There's always something that you're gonna be unhappy with. Usually, that's the human condition, right? I mean,
Yep.
now we're getting really deep into it, but but that's the thing. It's just what it is.
Hmm.
Try your best, and I think if you just keep going, like just keep making stuff, you'll see yourself become a lot better and become a lot more confident. And I think that confidence is what really can drive you to be more experimental and be like, you know what, I'm good at this now. I want to do something else. I want to try something else. I want to make a cool new thing,
Hmm.
and that's when it
Yeah.
becomes really interesting.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good note to end it on as well. Like a really positive note before we dive into like all the human psyche stuff.
Right? Yeah. Before we go in too deep.
All right. So thanks everyone out there for listening to this episode, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Yeah. I hope we didn't scare you too much.
See ya.
See ya. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. If you did, then you can check out the playlist on the right for more episodes, and don't forget to like, subscribe, or share it with friends. If you're an environment artist trying to break into the industry, or just looking to grow your skills, you can find a ton more resources like weekly tips, blog posts, and more on beyondextend.com. But that's going to do it from our side. Thanks so much for joining us, and a shout out to all of our Patreon supporters who made this possible.